one of the first things that happened was I went to a pub and got in a fight for being Scottish. It generally was that. It was this kind of, somebody heard the accent and immediately said, "Oh, you think you're a hard man." And in doing so, I knocked my own head torch off and it landed at my feet. So I bent down to pick my head torch up, and as I've picked it up, it's flipped, and I've realised that half my feet are hanging off a sheer drop. Did the x-ray, it's not the NHS. He came back 10 minutes later with the results. He said, "This man is very unwell. You can't even take him away." And he showed me, and one of my lungs was completely full of fluid.
Guys, welcome back to the Combat Fuel podcast. Today we are with just Jonny. Jonny is mad. And I want to say mad by, please introduce yourself and tell us like one of the most wild things you've done, one of the most wild events you've done.
Well, not an event in of itself, but I guess the hardest thing I've done that I'm still having nightmares about is the Vertical Marathon. We tried in 2020 and I eventually succeeded on the second time around in 2024, where I climbed Ben Nevis 32 consecutive times, stayed on the mountain, didn't come off the mountain, self-sufficient. So that was 15 days, of just constant graft, sometimes 3 times up and down. That was brutal in about 40 different ways.
I think that's a pretty good introduction to what we're going to get into. Like marathon, whatever, vertical marathon. It's mad.
It was a concept, not mine. Ex-business partner came up with the idea. And like I say, we had the stupid plan of doing it on Nevis. It seemed dramatic. It seemed like a crazy thing to do, into the idea. And we went out there and we practiced, did it 2 or 3 times over, a couple of triples in training, and felt confident. And then the reality hit. First time around was really, really brutal. Second time was more brutal because I did it more times, but it was, it was a bad idea.
But you completed it, and I don't think there's many people that can say they've completed a vertical marathon.
Well, now here's the thing. During the vertical marathon, we found out that, because there'd been no coverage or press about it, there was a chap in, I want to say Wales, who had done one, but he'd done one on a kind of a grassy knoll at the back over the course of, I don't know, a long time. And I messaged him because at the time I was saying, this is the world's first, nobody's ever done this before and all the rest of it. And then got wind of that. So I messaged him to say, "Listen, I've been making these claims. I wasn't aware that you'd done it before." And he messaged back to say, "I didn't do it on Nevis, you lunatic. Get on with it." Very nice guy. So it had been done before. Yeah. The concept had been thought of. I don't know whether he'd done that after we'd thought of it the first time round, but somebody had done it. But nobody had done it within those conditions on a mountain and all the rest of it. So halfway through the campaign, if you go back, and I don't suggest anybody does this, but if you went back through the campaign, you can see that we changed the wording ever so slightly to say the first mountain-based, and we're very clear about the fact that this now was no longer, in that sense, a world first, but it's still a world record because the conditions were insane. And
I think like a key bit to take away from that is like integrity. You could have gone on saying like the world's first, and that little key bit of information there that you went and gave credit where credit was due to someone else. Mate, even though it's like, I haven't done it up a mountain and you're lunatic. Is that I think that speaks a lot about you as a person.
And the other guy, because he could very well have been. He didn't make any contact with me. It was somebody kind of trying to sabotage it a little bit. Pinged that through. "You're not the first, you fraud," or something like that. And I'm like, well, this is news to me. So you
don't know what you don't know.
No, exactly. And it wasn't like we hadn't researched it and kind of had a think about it beforehand. It just wasn't there. It was. There had been an article on it in a local paper somewhere, and that was it. So I'd have to troll through various local papers to find that. But he was so graceful about it, and because he could have been like, "Yeah, you've been saying all these things and treading on my," and he wasn't. He was very acutely aware that it was a very different challenge. The title was the same and all the rest of it. But credit to that guy. He was very cool about it.
That's one of a plethora of challenges you've done. And we'll get onto some of them more. But let's rewind back to your childhood. Like where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Born and bred in a place called Thurso. For my accent, it's Thurso, not Fursel. And it's the most northern town in the whole of Britain, Thurso. You can't go any further than that without falling off the edge. So that in itself probably describes the nature of the place. Toughness is a kind of a relatively empty, I want to say barren, but that'd be offensive to my kinsfolk, but there's not a lot there. So I grew up in an area where it was a very small town. I think there's only 5,000 people there now, maybe a few more at that point. Local industry was Dounreay, which is the nuclear site. There's a military presence there that isn't talked about all that much, but it's there. And then there are fishing and various other industries there, but a very small area, which meant there's not much to do as a kid. So we just caused as much hassle as we could.
How was your childhood and upbringing?
Standard, very good. Nothing crazy to kind of write home about or anything. We because there isn't anything to do. The main standout for us. I say there isn't anything to do. There clearly is. Every kid everywhere says that. There's nothing to do but stand about in street corners, and of course there is. But the resources were less up there. But we got into Thurso's actually a mecca for surfing. Like genuinely, it's like people come from all over the world. The World Championships have been held there because there's a particular reef at Thurso East where the rocks and the way the water comes in through Scapa Flow, etc., makes this great surfing paradise for people. Well, it's not a paradise; it's fucking freezing. But it's a place where people do come and visit for that purpose. So we grew up with surfing as a kind of a background culture. I hated surfing. I don't like the water very much, and when I tried, I wasn't very good at it. But as a kind of an adjunct to that, skateboarding up there was kind of a little thing we had going on, and I became a very, very, do say so myself, very good skateboarder. Very kind of one of these young, fearless, idiot kids that would jump off anything and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was life for me up there with skating, and loved it, mate. Still love it. Skate or die.
Like that. It's, I mean, we've got to ask you then, like, when, this is like a personal question, like when Tony Hawk Pro Skater came out, how did you view him? Because he was a legend in my eyes growing up.
Well, see, the thing is with Tony Hawk, he's still a legend, still an absolute legend, but Tony Hawk Pro Skater came around. We've joked 3 times today off camera about my age, mate. And Tony Hawk is my age.
Yeah.
You know, when he was first skating, to see who he was, you had to buy videotapes. And where we were in Thurso, to get a videotape or a skate magazine or anything, you didn't just go down to the shop and buy it. They didn't sell it. You had to order it in. It takes 6 weeks to arrive, so you had to know about it in the first place, which meant somebody must have had to go down to Glasgow or something like that. My very good friend Tommy, God rest his soul, he's passed on. He actually had leukemia, and he travelled down to Glasgow for hospital visits. And then when he was let out of hospital, he'd go and visit the skate stores and the record shops and all the rest of it. He'd come back with all this new information. So we had an insight into what was going on through Tommy. We discovered Tony Hawk and videos like Public Domain. So he was a hero to me well before that came along. So when that came along, we kind of thought he'd sold out.
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, who's this guy? What's this thing? And it was a mad big thing.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that. That's not skating. That's bullshit. And that actually was a strange cultural crossroads. I still love skating, but it's a very different thing now. It used to be a subculture, almost kind of punk thing, where if you were a skater, you were a bit of a scumbag, which we liked, and it was kind of cool to be that way. And it was, like I say, it was a subculture thing. Whereas now it's very, very, there's still that about it in certain pockets, but for the most part, it's mainstream now. And Tony Hawk did that.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or bad. It's a great thing.
It's a great thing for the
sport,
Olympics
and all sorts of stuff.
Well, but
you got like 8-year-olds doing tricks that we couldn't even dream of. Because we had to send away, get a magazine, look at the sequential pictures and try and learn it.
Yeah.
Whereas they're on YouTube, they're seeing it, it's everywhere.
The availability of information to be like that now is, it's crazy, isn't it?
And it normalizes being able to do those tricks and having that kind of understanding, which has been really cool to see. Yeah. And I still skate now and again, I still go out there.
Do you still skate?
I do. I'm afraid because I've got a bad knee, and I'm afraid because I'm an old man, and I'm afraid because I haven't practiced enough. But I still go out there, and if I skate for a few days, I feel like I can skate again. But every time I jump on, I shit myself.
When I was young, I thought I want to be a skater boy. Tony Hawk Pro Skater had came out, and I was like, can't be that hard. It's just a board with wheels. So obviously I went straight up to a massive ramp, and then there were guys there, and I just watched them like, well, they're bending their knees and just standing on the board. That would be absolutely fine.
Looks easy.
Got to the end, stood in it, went down. I went down, and then I went like that, and I smashed my face up real bad. And I was like, skating ain't for me.
That's kind of what happened with me with surfing. I jumped in the water, jumped on the board, swimming out to catch the waves, being told that you swim through them, and I threw the board over a wave, but the wave jumped up and went, nah, fuck you, and threw it right back at me. Caught me in the ear and knocked me out.
Oh.
And I went under and got caught. It's only quite close to the shore, but heavy waves. Got caught in a little kind of a washing machine. Spat out immediately. I went, right, fuck surfing. That's somebody else.
Was that you're like, nah, that was it. That surfing's done.
I remember being in my mate's bath afterwards because it was cold as hell in a wetsuit, just sitting there, almost in tears, just going, surfing shit.
Yeah. Bro, there's sharks. Like, you guys are getting us in, you can't see the bottom. Like, have you watched Jaws? Like, yeah, man. I was a good swimmer as well growing up, and I am petrified of the sea. I can't see the bottom. Nah, that's like jumping out of airplanes and stuff. Like, no, thank you. I'm quite happy and chill. But how was your relationship with your parents growing up?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Every so often the question comes up, who's your hero? My dad's still my hero. We were very, very lucky, mate, to be brought up with an active, strong, when you look up, we have these conversations all the time now, don't we? This what should a man be and all the rest of it. My dad still ticks all those boxes. He's still a very strong, capable guy. He was part of the scouting organisation and eventually became the scouting commissioner for a massive area of Scotland. Never would boast about it or anything like that, but very kind of important in scouting. So we were brought up in that organisation, which meant we didn't have a lot of money. So all our holidays were camping and outdoors, up mountains, outdoors, and kind of survival stuff. And that's still the kind of things that's in me. A little bit of a teenage kind of drift where drinking and drugs were the only things that were of interest. And then eventually came back to it because it was just imprinted, and that's my dad. That's brilliant. Yeah. And my mum, she's passed away now, which breaks my heart every time I think about it. She was wonderful, scary little Glaswegian woman with a fierce, protective love for us. There's four of us. I've got a brother and two sisters, and she was fiercely, as you would expect from a little Glaswegian mother. She was just stereotypically that. So yeah, very, very lucky to have had a really strong family upbringing.
Sport always been a thing for you? Well into your fighting. Yeah. Lots of different variations. Did that start at a young age as well?
Fighting did, but not for particularly good reasons. So I played football. I was a good footballer, really good. We grew up in Thurso, but around about 12, my dad worked for the MOD, so was sent to Faslane. So we moved to Helensburgh. You probably know the area. Yeah. Lived there for quite a while, for 4 years. When I was there, I was involved with football really quite heavily, and did really well. Really, really good football player. But if I do say so myself, but then we moved back to Thurso, and that kind of drifted. There wasn't the infrastructure up there. And actually, one thing which I see in my boys, actually, if there is a positive way to say this, I'm not sure how to say it, but I'm not a very good team player. What I mean by that is that I prefer sports where the onus is on me to complete what I need to complete. If I didn't like being frustrated with other people or other people being frustrated with me for things that were outside of my control, and I see that my biggest boy, I can see that in him as well. So fight sports came a good bit later, but anything that was what's the word I'm looking for? Self-sufficient or on me, as I say, was much more appealing, because then if I failed, that was on me too. I could own that, So.
And where did you start with your fighting that was done as sport, not for fun?
So that was an interesting thing as well. So I moved to, jumping forward a little bit, down to Nottingham. I lived in Glasgow for a long time. I moved home early because Thurso, as I say, was a place most kids kind of wanted to get away from. So I enrolled in an arbitrary college course, which was just an opportunity to go. Went to Glasgow. I think I turned up twice to that course. Did relatively well at it, but still didn't turn up much. Drank a lot, and I was a musician and played in a lot of bands. And so I was moving to Bristol to be in a band, close enough to here, really. That went tits because of my temper, which is bad.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually get to Bristol. I was in a phone box told, don't come to Bristol, you little prick.
Yeah.
But we had all our stuff packed up in the van, myself and my girlfriend at the time. And her mum was living in Nottingham. So we thought, well, we'll go to Nottingham, we'll stay there, reset, then maybe get to Bristol. And 12 years after that, I didn't get to Bristol. So it's a very long answer to your question is, when I was there, one of the first things that happened was I went to a pub and got in a fight for being Scottish. It generally was that. It was this kind of, somebody heard the accent and they said, "Oh, you think you're a hard man, do you?" And I'm like, I literally asked for a pint. No. But it became a kind of a set to, and I won that fight. Which meant the next day when I went into the pub, another guy came down to enact his revenge. I won that fight and eventually got a bit of a reputation, fell in with certain people and all the rest of it. And then we were doing, at the time, there wasn't such a thing as MMA. No holds barred would be the closest we called it. But people didn't have these full set of skills. You were either a stand-up guy or you know, a Muay Thai guy or a boxer or just a street fighter, whatever the hell that really is.
But then jiu-jitsu wasn't really a thing either. Back then, was it?
No, it wasn't. But that was the interesting turnaround where I stopped doing it for a little bit of money and a little bit of radginess and just being a bit of an arsehole. And a lot of these things were in the, you know, in little pub downstairs rooms, you know, and it was I don't know if it was elite, it was underground, you know, or just sort of in amongst a bale of haze or something, and you're on a campsite somewhere or whatever. But I fought a guy who came in and ran up my leg like a little monkey, like a little rat. I was like, what the fuck is he doing? You know? And I wasn't particularly skilled or skilled at all. I was just game. And this kid, I was little, but 65 kilos, and weight classes weren't really a thing, but this guy was much smaller than me. So obviously in my head, it was just, I'll just panel him. That'll be easy.
Yeah.
And within about 15 seconds, he was doing something to my arm that I couldn't understand at all. I didn't know to tap, but he knew to stop. So he didn't break my arm. But the fight was over. And that's where I discovered jiu-jitsu. Because this little crazy kid who was giggling the whole time.
Yeah.
I said to him afterwards, what the fuck was that? And he says, that's jiu-jitsu. I don't know if he was Brazilian or not, but he actually said, which was great to hear, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, is it? What's jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
And I found some clubs and got into kind of adjunct to that. There was a little bit of criminality in my life. I was moving with some people. That is what it is. And we were in kind of little kind of turf wars and gang fights and things. And I was aware, I guess I'm about 23, 24 in this story now, starting to be aware that I'm not invincible. Maybe I should learn some skills, you know. And so I then reached out to Jeff Thompson and his team, who were, Jeff's a legend in combat circles. And his main guy, Tony Summers in Coventry. I would travel from Nottingham to Coventry and back 3 times a week to immerse myself in self-protection. Which is this kind of combat reality stuff, which is, because I was involved in real violence.
Yeah.
And this was like, you know, I saw the writing was on the wall, somebody's going to get me.
Yeah. So
I needed to hone my skills. So I went to Tony out in Coventry, who not only taught me some extraordinarily impressive fighting skills and made me capable to a degree, but also taught me the sort of philosophical means of removing myself from the need for it, which was interesting. The better I got, this is a story as old as time, the better I got and the more capable I got and the more I saw the repercussions, the more I saw the danger of it, the more I distanced myself from it. So a great journey, but a very physical one.
I think martial arts is something everyone should do.
Whatever
it's martial arts, boxing, jiu-jitsu, anything like that. It's absolutely brilliant.
And I still think it's, and now exactly as you're saying, look on it not just as a sport or as an outlet or as a means of exacting one's, you know, it should be ingrained in all of us. I think it's something very beautiful.
That ability to, especially for both of us doing jiu-jitsu, it's the ability to fold someone up and have them at a point where you're going to snap something or put them to sleep, stop, have a little hug and goodbye, mate.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You have a confrontation out on a street somewhere and you just think, thanks. You just turn around and you don't lose any face, do you? Knowing that, you know, you'll be severely impaired if you want to go, and you just, I've got nothing to prove.
Well,
you have that ability to just walk away. I've noticed it myself. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's an amazing thing to have at your disposal. I talked to the kids about it. I have 3 boys and a girl, and all 4 of them talked about having that capability to protect themselves, protect each other, also to protect the person that might be causing that in the situation. You know, you can be people act in crazy ways and they don't really know what they're doing, and it's your role, your duty to make sure that everybody's safe in that. And that 99.9% of the time means just get out of it, just go.
Yeah.
You know, whereas back then, right back to where I was in the kind of timeline, I had this, and I guess every kid does really, this idea in my head that I had to win every fight. Otherwise I'd lose status, I'd lose sense of self.
Yeah.
I wasn't even marking it down in those ways. It was just childish pride, you know. I remember Tony said to me, "Why are you here? What is it you want to learn?" And the way I described it to him was there was a pub I was going to, and I would go in that pub and I could see that there was lads that wanted to fight me, and I wanted to get to the point where they knew that I was so capable that they didn't want to fight me. And he said, which ultimately what I was saying, I want to be the hardest guy around, which is fucking rubbish, isn't it? And he said, "Have you ever thought, Johnny, maybe just not going to that pub?" And do you know what? As stupid as that is, and we're both laughing at it, my mind was blown.
You know,
like what? No,
what?
I mean, how am I supposed to assert my what? And you know, he's just stood kind of looking at me knowingly, waiting, watching the penny very slowly dropping. Came away like a epiphanal change in that one ridiculous statement, and that from there on, it changed. That changed everything. Very grateful. For Tony's
the ability to remove yourself from the situation.
And to see in the first place, you know, I'm manifesting this. You know, all the violence that I had in my life was entirely created from my own fear and my own ego, both of which needed reined in and needed controlled.
And then you did, you know, and
it's an ongoing journey.
From that life, you very well could not be here, you know.
Yeah.
Street gang violence is not.
It was stupid. All of it was stupid. I know why it was there, and there was things in me that needed dealt with, and all the rest of it. We've all got that somewhere. But you know, the path that I was on, we hear this all the time. It's very, very true to say the path that I was on was a very dangerous and very obvious slippery slope. So yeah, grateful for Jeff and Tony especially.
So I want to touch on is, you may tell me to fuck off.
Fuck off.
We're sat at our resistance now. I'll bang my mic so we can't get to me. You are a veteran, but you don't like being called a veteran. So as by definition, a veteran is someone that's committed one day of service, whether it be in training, they've got there, they've been on tours, they've not been on tours. Are you happy to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. Excuse me. We'll skim over it, only because I'm really nervous of any kind of... what do the Americans call it? Stolen valor.
Stolen valor.
Yeah. And this kind of Walt scenario. And I see people around me absorbing the flavor of military lifestyle and then reselling and repackaging themselves as people that are, and they're not, you know, and it's kind of like, look, I can understand the kind of sexiness and the appeal and the things that people see and this kind of the alley clothes and all this kind of shit, you know, and I get it all. I get it all, but I don't want to be in a position where people feel like I'm trying to absorb that without having put in the work in the first place. So we're talking about this earlier. This was news to you in 98, and I'll say it again on camera. This shows my age.
I was 7.
That's twice you've told me that. Yeah, very good, very good. That's nice, Alex. In 98, I signed up to become an RAF gunner. I was kind of strong-armed to that in the Armed Forces office. We went through the testing and the aptitude, and then you had they would read through your results and kind of try and peel you out. And the guy was very, very keen, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just going along with it. And signed up as an enlisted as an RAF gunner, went through basic, all that kind of stuff, but then immediately broke my knee, skateboarding, funny enough. So I jumped off something maybe as tall as you, a fly-off ramp, landed with my legs straight. I had one can of beer, I wasn't drunk.
Lightweight.
And the shin went right through the knee and kind of smashed it all. And at the same time, it twisted, so I had this tibial plateau fracture, which, you know, if you know, you know, that's pretty bad. And it was a spiral as well. So ended up with pins through the knee, right through, kind of Forrest Gump style, a big cage on, and I was in a wheelchair for 3 months. Obviously, immediately, right, you're out. So I was gone. and I went to go back 2 years later. 24 months is the timeline. A big joint fracture like that. I think it was 22 months into that 24 months, they needed to take the pins out, which counts as surgery. So now it's another 24 months. So that happened twice. Or was it 3 times? Anyway, I could tell a long story here, but this kind of constant need for the knee to be looked after offset my opportunity to reintroduce. By which point I'm building up a career, I'm doing things, I'm having kids, and we came back north. This is all down in Nottingham, came back north. And I went through the reservist route. Went through, trying to think of the order now, went through 4 Power out in Edinburgh. By this point, and originally the hope for me in my mind is this, I want to do everything that was SF. So through 4 Power with an SF direction. And again, I got so far, and the external organization, Atos Origin, who manage all the admin, essentially is an agency that the government offset these things to. Everybody within the kind of military circles, like, you're good to go. At this point, I'm doing 100-mile ultramarathons with huge packs on my back, and so I'm clearly fit and strong. But they looked at the doctor's notes. The doctor even wrote me a note saying, "Look, these are the facts. But this is the reality." He tried to kind of help along. So I got so far, and they bumped me. And that happened twice. Just before we couldn't come on camera, I was saying I have this strange thing that I've never heard anybody's got. I've actually got a letter from the military asking me never to apply again because the resource and the time that it's taken to have me come through. They wrote this letter. There is a code for it. They wrote a letter. I'll show you something, saying, look, we're directly a personal letter. I think it felt like it was personal, saying you've applied so many times, but now we're going to ask you not to apply again. And there was something to do with the amount of times that I'd applied and the injuries that I was keeping trying to get past. They were just saying, look, don't do it again. This is a waste of your time and a waste of our time. So if we go on, I can show you. If we go on to the, the online portal that you can go on for recruitment, there's a big red, it comes up like almost a joke thing.
No.
So I'm not allowed to go on there, but it shows all the pathways, and there's 8 open folders.
And John, the difference there with saying, you don't stolen valor and all of that is how someone comes across and how they're perceived by other people. I don't think, and Fraser sat behind the camera. Do we think he's a bit of stolen valor? He's shaking his face, and he's bald, so we trust him because he looks hard. But I completely get what you say, and I think it's the people that are so worried about how they'll look to others by not wanting to do that are the guys that are the most genuine. And I think you are a veteran. You signed up, you went through training, you had an unfortunate accident, and you went and got at it. The guys that, again, personally, not combat fuels, don't sue me, that are not veterans are the guys that are in training, been through training, been injured, got out, whatever, and then they live by that. That's their whole personality. I'm a veteran, I'm a this, I'm a that, and they make it their personality. You don't. You're like, it was something I did, and I think you absolutely are, It's, thank you for your service and wanting to join up, and you didn't get to deploy or do anything, but you still
get it,
you still went through training, you signed on a dotted line, and you went and attacked it again and again, and you haven't made it your whole personality, and I think it's commendable.
Well, I appreciate that, but there are people that have been in, done the work. There are people who clearly who've lost their lives, or their lives have changed, negatively and positively for it, and I can't claim that. It's and I feel it and understand it and see it for what it is. So it's never, it's not, certainly not turning my back on any of the things that I did, but I don't want it to be seen. There could be things, the involvement with you guys has come completely, you didn't know at all until today.
Yeah, I say until today. I was under the impression that you had gone to apply and you were trying to join, and that's when you had your knee injury.
Yeah.
It's,
which is fine. I mean, ultimately, that's not the story I'm trying to tell, but
no,
it's, it is what it is. I find it uncomfortable, but I think for positive reasons. We talked a minute ago about Luke from Contact Coffee had an analogy separate to this, but I liked it, which was, it would be like saying I was a Celtic player or something, which is my team. Say I'm a Celtic player, but actually I never got a game. I got signed up, I was on the bench, but I never came off the subs bench. You couldn't claim that, because the first question somebody's going to ask, oh yeah, what games did you play? And it's like, well, I didn't play any. What do you mean you didn't play any?
Yeah.
And so you end up kind of backtracking. It's like, I wish I'd not said in the first place, because that makes me seem like I was trying to say something that's disingenuous. And that's the struggle I've got with it. And that's the kind of analogy I put there.
It's humble.
Well, it's accurate, I think, as well.
Very, very decent. At this point, though, you said, your kids had come along. How was that being a father for the first time?
Exciting, tough, all the things every father will say. When Ashley and I found out she was pregnant, the very first thing I said was, "Shit, should we tell an adult?"
Excuse me.
I still wonder whether we should go for it. So that was an interesting thing. So Poppy, our eldest, who's an extraordinary athlete, by the way, I'll boast about her if you want to take 20 minutes. But she came along living in Nottingham in amongst all this kind of badness, this what's the word? Nefarious activities that we were involved in down there. And as soon as it was clear that Ash was pregnant, the first thing I actually said after that was, we need to move. I want to bring a child up in amongst the things that I was doing. So it changed my life really, really positive just in that moment.
A big defining moment was finding out Ash was pregnant.
Yeah, because immediately, without any kind of thought, it was instinctively, right, where we move from here now then.
Yeah,
which we did do. We were in, she was born and we were back in Scotland and been in the same house since within 3 months.
How long have you been up there back in Scotland for now?
Poppy's turning 18, which again makes me feel very old. So we've been back up for 18 years now. Nearly 18.
And still loving Scotland to the day?
Mate, it's home. It's also where I've moved to now is actually where my granddad was. So we would travel down from Thurso to that village and that house and all the rest of it. So I'm kind of back home and yeah, I love it. I'm very proud to be Scottish and very lucky to be. Fraser and I were talking about the hills earlier on. I can jump in the car and be in amongst some Munros within an hour. And there's some beautiful hills in England, beautiful hills in Wales, but there's something
special about Scotland. Yeah, there really is. Like infantry do a lot of our training and our final exercises up there. And at the time, fucking Scotland, it's always raining, it's always wet, shit place.
Yeah, but that's part of the charm is that the weather itself in Scotland is unique.
Yeah,
it's a unique environmental system. And that's, I don't think there's anywhere in the world that's harder to train than Scotland.
No,
you guys
which
know
is why,
exactly.
is why it's done so much and utilised.
I remember going up and down that mountain and good friend Sam, who came up with me, ex-military, you'll know Sam, Sammy Seeley.
Yeah.
He and I were talking about it. We were saying, it's not just that it's windy, it's not just that it's cold, it's also that it's fucking wet.
Yeah.
And that's just a constant, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it makes for the environment, makes for the experience, makes for everything. So I'm very blessed to be
here. And
it
is absolutely stunning. Like, if you haven't been to Scotland, you absolutely should go. Like, I go back up now, like, every couple of months for military meetings, events and stuff. And I sometimes think, wow, I was so naive but then when I was like a 19-year-old kid, on the side of a mountain and I was trying to like dig in and bash her up and it's raining so hard it's sweeping you down.
Yeah.
Everything's wet, trying to do wet and dry drills, putting wet kit on when you get it up. They shut roads, the rain's so heavy up there. Like it's wild. But yeah, going back up there now, I'm like, wow, this place is stunning. Like you could, Wales or Scotland for retirement.
Wales is beautiful. Mate, and I was talking again earlier on, we're all very lucky to live where we are in the UK, because I came through yesterday from Bristol Airport, drove across here into Wiltshire, and what a stunning country. It's all very well and good to be saying, I'm Scottish, go fuck yourself, England. But it's the country I love. But it's beautiful. But it's beautiful in a very different way. Scotland offers something very unique. And I'm very, very lucky, very blessed to be there. I'm very blessed to bring kids up in there.
Absolutely. And I suppose Scotland for kids, when I was growing up, when you were growing up, technology wasn't really a thing. PlayStations didn't exist. Mobile phones didn't exist.
None of it, no.
Going to play with your friends was, you got to memorise your mates' numbers, you're coming out to play. And I suppose where you are in Scotland now, that's going outside and playing outside is still a thing that kids can do.
It is, mate. Yeah. I mean, less so now. We could digress here for a moment or two. I'm not sure whether it's a social thing now, like an idea that people have, whether we're any less safe than we were back then, but we're less inclined to let them go out and go mad. Yeah. When I was a kid, especially where I was, but I don't hear stories down the road, down Glasgow, any different. We would go out in the morning, like during the summer holidays, we go out when the sun came up and come back when the sun went down.
Back in before the street lights come on.
And it was, and that was it. It's a thing. It's real, you know?
Yeah.
And our kids don't do that, you know, because
especially down here, it's, you know, where I live, like, it's a very small area, and it's, you know, there's always kids out playing. They're going out playing football, they're playing Kirby, and it's so nice to see. But until that, like living in a town previously, now living in a very small place with like a few thousand houses, and where I live, like on the outskirts of that, like there's like 150 houses. It's so refreshing to see. I'm living my childhood through them. And like a ball will come over and they come round and they're knocking like, oh, please, could I get my ball? And it's,
I mean, there's still some of that everywhere. It's, I guess it depends where you are. It depends what the conurbation's like. It depends what the environment's like. But like you say, when I mentioned Tommy earlier on, if I wanted to go and see Tommy or anybody up in Thurso, I might have to walk, because it wouldn't be, we were kids. See, if I phoned up, I might get his mum. Or nobody would answer, because these were landlines. There was no mobiles or anything. So you would just go, all right, I'm going to go and find such and such. And it'd be a 6-mile walk. You bang on the door and he's not in. He's gone out. Like, all right, well, I'll just fucking walk home again. So, you know, that, even exercise and movement was a different thing. Now they'll message each other or they not go out because they can communicate anyway through Snapchat or whatever and all the rest of it. Whereas to find that person, we actually had to do something physical. We had to go out on your bike or go for a walk or whatever. You might not find them. So then, even then, it's like, well, there's something different comes of that, isn't there? There's a great little thing on YouTube. I'll have to find it and send it to you. But it's a kind of I think it must have been made in the 70s. And it's this little documentary scene where there's a Scottish guy called Tam, and he lives in a place, older guy, and he's getting on his bike to go and see his pal. His pal lives 20 miles away. So he goes on his bike and the camera catches him halfway through. He lifts up a rock. That's where his whiskey stash is. Has a little drink of whiskey, puts it back on the rock, keeps going. And he gets there, knocks on the door, and she's not in. So he just goes to the pub, has a few pints, and cycles back again. This is this documentary about this Scottish life. And I think that's how we all were as kids, you know, minus not always minus the whiskey, actually. Sometimes with the whiskey. That's a little bit of that's gone. But where we are, there's a kind of half and half. There's enough for them.
So we're like rewinding back. So you've just had your daughter. You've moved back up to Scotland. What's your career doing at this point?
So I was involved with, for a long time, in amongst all these kind of, we always joke about the 1,000 lives of Jonny Pain, is that I also had a career as in recruitment. So I started off, actually worked down in Nottingham in forensics mental health institutions. I guess it's hard to describe this without being somewhat offensive to what the job was supposed to be. But the role essentially was like a care assistant role. I can't remember what the title was now. We're going back a long way. But our job was to observe and manage these, nowadays they call them clients, we call them patients. But everybody that were on these wards because they'd come through the criminal system, they'd done something pretty heinous. And they were there because their mental health excluded them from a prison service. So forensic mental health. Ultimately, you were bouncers. You were managing these individuals who may kick off and be violent, and trying to kind of help them organize their day-to-day stuff. But really, it was kind of watching over them to make sure that they didn't kill each other themselves or you. That's the day-to-day job. And it's a really specialist role that you had to have kind of physical capabilities and present in a certain way. You had to be capable. And it was quite hard to employ people into those roles because they burn out really, really quickly. It's something, you know, a few weeks doing that, you're like, I can't do this anymore. Whereas, you know, there was a team of us who could. And so I branched out from actually being the care provider, working in that, to building an agency where we were employing people, which brought me into the world of recruitment. And that's where I went from there. So during that, then I jumped about different companies and became the business development director of a group of recruitment companies, one of which more of my time was spent was foster care recruitment, which that allowed me to move back north because we had a big branch set up literally a mile from where I live. So perfect timing, perfect place. That's what allowed me to come back north. But I hated it. And I think it lasted another 2 years doing that and just had to say, look, I can't do it anymore.
And what was it about that job that you you hated?
The foster care stuff, as soon as I tell you, is kind of relatively obvious. So my job was, at this point, as a business development director, was I would work kind of directly with procurement teams, so NHS procurement councils, local government stuff. And my job was to produce tenders and contracts to try and win the business, so they would have X amount of difficult foster care cases. We would have the social care workers and the foster carers themselves as our employees, and then we would bid for that work based on the specialty of those employees. Very capitalist way to look after children's care. And part of the job for me was to read the case studies to understand, obviously they're anonymous to me, but I'm reading these case studies to understand the needs of the kids and there sell the idea that our people are the most specialist and therefore command this fee, and then contract that out and produce a tender and try and win that, which I hated because I'm reading these case studies and all, I've got kids by this point and I'm reading it and this child A, et cetera, you read right through and it's heartbreaking stuff. And then I'm going away and attaching a tariff to that, And my heart wants to say, just fucking somebody go in and look after them, which I understand isn't the way that commerce works, isn't even the way that care works, because it's got to be managed and it's got to be systemized and things. But still, we had the people, we were holding them off for the best price, which is how recruitment works. But to me, it was just eventually, I wasn't sleeping, I was drinking a lot and trying to manage this dichotomy, I suppose, in my head. It makes me nervous now talking about it because it was just so uncomfortable. And I had a point of, I spoke to my mum on the phone. I also had kids to look after and a family to maintain and all this kind of stuff. So to suddenly say, I was earning very, very good money, but then with that comes the trappings of good money, fancy cars and things that I don't actually own, all this kind of stuff. So if I say I'm not doing it anymore, everything crumbles. Or that's what I thought when I spoke to my mum, and she called me enough expletives to make me realize that, maybe there was another way. So she just told me, look, we all love you. If you're unhappy and you're doing that for our sake, something's twisted there. You need to change that up, find out what it is you want to do. And I've been coaching people loads, at this point, very much involved in martial arts, mixed martial arts, all kinds of things. And I knew so much and I was so invested and loved it so much that people were coming to me and I was coaching people for free. Some people pay me a little bit of a fee for it. So I said, what do you want to do? Well, I want to be a coach full time. Well, go and fucking do it then. That's her response. And I go, oh, but I can't. She said, I fucking told you, go and do it. You little prick.
Yeah.
And all this kind of stuff. And I came off the call really super empowered. And I guess there's something relatively sweet about it, but because my mammy had said, I didn't want to let her down. And she said, this is letting me down. This living this double life, upsetting yourself and all that, that's letting me down. Chasing what you want to chase. It was a great lesson as a dad and as a son. And so that night I handed him a notice. And I went to the university in Dundee with a suit and tie on to try and convince them to take me on because I didn't have qualifications in that, right? And the guy laughed his head off. He's like, why have you got a suit and tie on? That's what I don't know.
It looks good.
Quickly took the tie off. I thought I had to impress you. He said, what do you know? And I told him, okay, just jump on the course. We'd love to have you. So within a week, I'd gone from earning 6 figures to 4. I couldn't get a student loan because my earnings beforehand had no, you earn too much. You've earned too much. We can't give you that. So I was skint. So then I had to go and shovel shit in order to make this work. But it still felt good.
Huge kudos to your mum for pushing you then to get into coaching.
She was pissed off that I'd never mentioned it before.
Yeah.
Not I've let you down or anything. No, just you're a little prick.
Yeah. Savage. Go on, mum.
Yeah. Which is what I genuinely needed to hear was like, actually,
sometimes
my idea of this, sorry mate, my idea of, no, I have to do it for the people. That was a little bit of ego as well. It's like, no, actually you just, this is selfishness, because you've got this idea in your head that you are, the arbitrator of all these people's, or the facilitator of all these people's outcomes, but if you're not true to yourself, it's bollocks, and you're teaching everybody the wrong lesson. So therefore, you're your own problem.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
I think it's
twice because Tony gave me that bit of advice about not being a dick.
It's when you're surrounded by good people, your family and friends. Like, they don't care what you earn. They don't care what you can do. They care that you're happy in your life doing what you want to do. You know, like, and I'm a big believer in karma. Like, if you put yourself first, you can't help anyone else if you don't put yourself first.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everything else will
just... You're on oxygen mask first and all that stuff, yeah.
Everything else will just fall into place.
Yeah.
As it did. So we've gone on to this course. How did you find it?
Frustrating. For so many, I was 32, 33 at the time, I think. And you know, I was on a course with 18-year-old kids, and they were more interested. This is their first opportunity. They just left school and others, they're all fucking about. And, you know, and I'm trying to,
I'm trying to learn,
you know, and I couldn't, you know, find the middle ground with it. And also because I'd been coaching so long and I understood, I still had to start. I didn't have any actual qualifications. So I started the first year, and without this meaning to sound egotistical at all, I knew way more than they were teaching me to suck eggs a little bit. But I had to do it. So I had to just.
You needed the qualification.
Yeah. Do you know what? It turns out I don't know if I did. Nobody once has ever asked me, "Can you show me your degree?"
Yeah. Do you know what? Like, and as a personal trainer, very different. And I did like up to level 4, so not a degree level, but learning like having to go through, so my exercise referral thing, which I think is level 4, and learning all your comorbidities and all of that stuff. I'd advertise it, and not once as a personal trainer had anybody said, "What qualifications have you got? Or can I see your insurance?" Not once.
Nobody's ever asked me for it.
Trained hundreds of people, not once.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not a protected term, so you.
Yeah.
That is not an advocate for going to just do stuff without a qualification either. However,
I mean, there are some jobs corporately where you need to show them the certification.
Absolutely, yeah.
I've never had those. So I went the route very much, and I guess there is a distinction here. Rather than personal training, I was looking at strength and conditioning, and actually the degree that I did was performance nutrition. So science and science, sports science, exercise, and performance nutrition was this big long thing. And at the same time, doing the UKSCA and the CSCA accreditation, the American version of which, the international accreditation, you can't get until you get the degree. That's what I wanted, was the opportunity to be able to say that, you know, it's not just, you know, helping people work out. This is a huge sort of physiological understanding, and the deeper I went into that, the more involved I got in it, and the more I wanted to do that. And so I went down that very kind of scientifically driven route, which again makes people less inclined to ask you for qualifications. If you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about. But I wanted to work specifically with athletes at the time. Come kind of full circle on that, actually. But that's what I wanted to do, was work in sport. And so that was the route I took. And so while I was at the university doing the nutrition course that I was doing, I also wrote and taught the S&C course, because I had more qualifications and experience than the guy doing the course. So we taught it together. A guy called Miko, great, extraordinary scientist actually, but didn't have any practical experience. So we'd do a kind of a Morecambe and Wise routine where he'd stand up and he'd give the science, and then I'd break the science down and say how that applied to real application, which is great for learning, because you hear all these facts and figures and all the rest of it. But what does that actually mean? So we were producing that, which was really, really fun for me. And you know, got the degree, and then went on to the masters. And there's still a PhD sitting in the background somewhere. If somebody could A, fund it, and B, give me the time to do it. Yeah. But I really, really love it all, mate.
And I mean, who goes to a course at a uni course and ends up delivering part of the course as well?
It's crazy, yeah. It's just one of those things. It's like, how are we going to do this? And you know, at first it was a hindrance to me being older, and then actually, you know, the friends I had at uni were the lecturers. You know, we'd go and have cups of tea and all the rest and chat through stuff. And these guys had a background, had some sporting experience, and had application of their education that I didn't have. So I was able to tap into that, spent a long time in the labs with them. And obviously these conversations like, Johnny, you could teach this for us. Just come on as a fellow, we'll sign you on and do this and do that. So that's how that came about. It wasn't that, oh, this is the most qualified guy. It was through networking, essentially. But, so the fact that I was older actually proved to be really, really useful for me. They say education is wasted on the young. And I think that was proof of it. Yeah. Because the rest of them were just fucking about.
Yeah. I remember going and doing it at college, and I was doing sport, and it was, you're there for as much of a good time as you are, and it's a part of growing up into who you are as well, isn't it? You need to.
But don't get me wrong, I got
Yes.
wankered with these kids quite a lot.
That's brilliant. Love it.
But I was still turning up the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was a good experience. I was glad when it was done, though. It wasn't.
Yeah. How long was the course?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah. But also because I'd given up that job, it was hard work for me. It was in Dundee, so from where I am, that was I had no money, so it was the bus for me. About 90 minutes each way on the bus. 2 kids at that point, and I also had to work. So I was doing kind of night shifts and agency work and just picking up any old job anywhere, doing anything to try and make ends meet so I could make that happen. So it was a long, tough 4 years, not just for me, but
The family.
for the family. Yeah, we didn't have anything, didn't have a car in it, any of that stuff, which at the time felt like a burden. Now, kind of look back on it as good times, because we.
Again, it's
You're gonna make
one is
do, don't you?
memories, and 2 is short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. If you don't need a car, you don't need a car. If you can invest in yourself, which you evidently did, to end up producing something of value to yourself and your family, and you doing a job that you enjoy and you love.
Yeah. I mean, and I do love what I do for the most part. There's still, like any job, there are fucking admin bollocks and politics and things that you don't want to get involved in. But it was a big shift, a big change. Really hard. There was, I think, through that 4 years, there was never a day went by where it wasn't still this kind of idea that I'm being really selfish here. I could just go and get a job and fucking sort everything out. We could have a car, we could have this, we could have that. So the support in the background was always very key for me. It was like, no, stay the course, because this will pay off as long as you're committed. And, so that was tough, because I could see that there were opportunities to change that quite quickly, because I still had qualifications in other areas that I could have just fallen right back, and job offers and lucrative as well. But
Fair play to your supportive family as well.
Mate, couldn't have done it without any of them.
Absolutely brilliant. University's done 4 years. We're mid-30s now.
Getting on, yeah.
Getting on.
Actually, funny enough, so it took 5 ultimately, because I had to defer for a year because my mum died. And then I also looked after my granddad, and he died as well 3 months after that. So I was right in the middle of exams and stuff. I just can't cope with this. So we offset that. So actually, telling lies, 5 years.
36, 37 by the time you finish?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Give or take. Yeah.
What was the first job that you went into after becoming qualified?
What I had been doing. So maybe about 2.5 or so years in, I started to take on one-to-one clients and going into various gyms and coaching people. So I'd built up a little bit of a roster of clients, some of them Gen Pop folk that I just knew locally, kind of built up a reputation for myself in the local area. Any PT starting out, I think that's something you should do, make yourself invaluable locally.
Yep.
And I helped out a rugby club, and in return for me being the S&C coach for them, local to me, they gave me space to use their gym. It was space, I built the gym, but it was the space that they were using. So then I had a kind of a studio, very spit and sawdust, quite disgusting really. So I had somewhere to coach. So that was happening in the evening. So I kind of, as time had gone on, I started to build up a kind of a business for myself. So when I popped out the other end, it wasn't like I had nothing there and I need a job. I'd actually built it, and now I had the opportunity to kind of say, this is my full-time thing, and open that up a little bit wider, which I managed to do.
And so business is going well. You're doing something you enjoy. Yeah. Fair to say, happy with life after obviously 2 unfortunate passings in the family. But
yeah, that was really tough. Still tough. I don't think it's something you ever get over, the loss of a parent. But it's, that was really tough. Where were we going from there? Yeah, got lost in that for a moment. It was tough.
Oh, so work's going good. What I was going to touch on is, we talked at the start about a mad challenge in a vertical marathon, and that wasn't just like a one-off thing. Where did this like desire or want to come from doing challenges? And you've done your fair share of absolutely wild challenges. I mean, some people might think like, again, a marathon's a hard challenge, an ultra marathon's hard. And tell us more.
What happened? Who hurt you?
Yeah.
That kind of question. Yeah. So this is all born of the same stuff. And I mentioned earlier on about my dad and mountains and scouting and all the rest of it, which is something that we kind of as you are when you're a kid. This is a load of shit. I don't want to do this. Turn my back on it. But being up in Scotland, being home, I'd never lost the love for the mountain. I didn't talk about it much, but I never lost the love for the mountains. So I would take myself out now and again, which is something that really warmed my mum's heart. I say, I've been up in the hill station. Good. And so I would do that more and more, and I just enjoy being out there. And that's still fundamentally the core of it all. Is I love the mountains, I love the hills, and I'm fit and strong in them. I move well, not as well as I used to, but I still move well, and I feel very alive. So for me, there's almost a spiritual connection up there. So there's always a big draw, and a reset and a place of kind of warmth for me and goodness for me. So that was there as a core part of it. And the fighting was something that I've been doing a lot. Like I said earlier on about this kind of, it's all on me, this personal challenge. I also loved training. So I was really interested in getting stronger and stronger. And I'm doing all these disparate things at the time and trying to figure out whether I can get stronger and attend to kind of larger and larger endurance challenges at the same time. Is there a way of doing this from a programming perspective? And at the time, so now we have the phrase hybrid, which I'll take you back to the origins of in a moment. We've got, at the time, and there's a very short memory in the world of strength conditioning or PTs and all the rest of it. This was the case. If you were a bodybuilder or you were a strength athlete or you were, this was the end of the spectrum you were in, it was very much known, a fact, if you like, that you couldn't do endurance work. And if you're an endurance guy, what would you be lifting weights for? You're just going to fuck your endurance up. So you can't do that. And these were split camps, whilst there's no rivalry there, they were just different bodies of effort. Different places. And I was interested in both, but still hearing this noise about how you could do things. But then, actually, funny enough, military guys. So a lot of the coaching I was doing now is reaching out to military guys that I knew, or guys that are aspiring SF lads, and helping take them through training. I'm like, well, ultimately, they're going to need a certain amount of strength, and they're going to need a huge amount of endurance capacity. But if they were weak, they're going to blah, blah, blah. So and then you look at rugby players and like these guys are training at both ends of the spectrum. So this idea is actually bollocks when you see it in practice. But what is the best way to coach for that? So I took myself through 100 different iterations and broke myself and got injured and tried to do it all. And also hooked up with a guy called Alex Fiada over in America, who... So at the time, Facebook forums were where all this information came up.
Yep.
So my name and his name were constantly invoked on Facebook forums. Ask Johnny, he might know. And you become the guy who knows, which gave us a certain amount of following. That all crumbled in the Instagram beginning thing. You have to build up your following again.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was kind of quote unquote famous in those circles. And so was Alex. And Alex and I discovered that we were both trying to figure this shit out at the same time. He was a bit ahead of me and started writing a book called The Hybrid Athlete. And the Hybrid Athlete was where this idea of hybrid came from, to the point which he coined the phrase. But funny enough, he coined the phrase almost accidentally because he didn't have a title for the book. And eventually somebody said, what are you going to call it? Well, I don't know, the hybrid.
I don't know.
And that's what we've got.
That's
now.
where it came.
It's been bastardized a little bit since then.
Yeah.
Now it's become kind of synonymous with high rocks and things like that. But at the time, the idea was, can you be capable in this end of the spectrum, capable of these two very disparate ends of the spectrum that do not necessarily or explicitly support each other. And we built a methodology around that. He had built his, I built mine. We came together. I work with CHP still, which is Alex's company. And again, he wrote the book. He's just written a second book, actually, which I wrote the foreword to. Very honoured to write the foreword to that book and helped with some of the programming in the first book, etc., etc. So, very long answer to a short question. I was trying to see how far I could kind of push this stuff in terms of, okay, so I can do a 10K and I can lift relatively heavy for my size and weight. But can I do like 3 days in the mountains and maintain that ability to do that quite fast whilst maintaining this strength? Yes, it turns out I can. Okay. And that was kind of intelligent or unintelligent and then intelligent programming built out of mistakes. And then can I then actually grow that at the same time as growing this? And that became the real kind of personal and scientific interest for me. And we've gone on to kind of prove the science.
Yeah.
And the data sets I've got from coaching people through this over the years with the companies I've built and all the rest of it, I have like 12,000 athletes I've taken through this kind of process and provided with actual direct training or programming that they've they've committed to through the systems that I was using, so I can see their software, their data, and so it's a proven methodology.
12,000 athletes is phenomenal.
Oh, I've been very, very, very lucky to work with that.
I hope you
develop it that much.
Look back on it and think like, that's a huge amount of athletes to coach, and that's not a generic PDF. There's a program, go and do it. That's like coaching in its purest form.
Well, arguably, not all of them were coached directly. So I built 30 or so different programs that had we coached literally thousands now directly. But the vaster number comes from the fact that I built all these programs and offered people a chance to work through them. But then was there to answer the questions and adapt this, change this, and all the rest of it.
And when I say like, so a bit of a throwaway comment as in a PDF program, like, it's quite well known now. People will put together like, you want to run a marathon and it'll be on a A4 slide of incremental runs. Do that and you'll be able to do a marathon, which is it's not coaching.
No, that genuinely isn't. Even the programming that I wrote, which were essentially off-the-shelf programs, they still exist. I still sell them. I still think there's value in them. I pushed hard against that in the first place. I didn't want to do that because I felt like.
But when they're done properly with proper thought and proper process behind them, then they're actually a really good tool.
Yeah.
For people that might not be able to as well afford a one-to-one coach going on. And
it's a blueprint.
Yeah.
There, okay, do these things. But the problem I had with it was that individual gets that blueprint and then real life happens to them.
Yeah.
And then they try and continue with the blueprint, but all the external stressors have changed. So this no longer works. You know, if all your ducks are in a row and the north wind is blowing and, you know, you've got you're all well fed and well recovered and everybody's smiling that day, then this program does work very, very well. But, you know, nothing exists in isolation like that. So I had a real kind of pushback. But then I put it out there. People wanted it. People needed it. People used it. And we developed a platform where they could kind of learn more about how to adapt that. Very proud of it too.
How did you find it trying to get clients? Well, did it come naturally to you or did you have to really graft to try and get the business?
It still doesn't come naturally to me. I've built my very first website yesterday. I say that obviously people that may have followed a bit of the journey know that I was involved with Omnia Performance. We built that as well. So I've had a presence and had an internet presence in that sense. But going back before that, I mentioned to you guys earlier on, I think you already knew, I've worked at the highest level with Tyson Fury as a strength and conditioning consultant. I worked with Billy Joe Saunders, and that came about with no advertising, no website, no nothing. This was all word of mouth. This is the guy to speak to.
And the Tyson Fury, when you were coaching him for his S&C stuff, is a time where very famously was knocked to the ground and got back up and won.
I've got some interesting stories about that camp that I might have to tell off camera. But the fact that he was able to even start that fight was down to, without ego, fact was down to my consulting and the things that I had to say to that camp. I was actually here in the UK. They were in Big Bear in California. I was phoning Ben Davidson and messaging him, and he was sending me data points back. And I was saying, you have to do this. You can't do that. Why the fuck are you doing this? And then he would have to go back, God bless him, and feed that information back in and manipulate how that was then delivered in order to get the outcome. But some of the things that they were doing at the beginning of that camp were so counterintuitive. Well, actually, probably intuitive to them, but was going to cause problems. They were in altitude and stuff, and it was like, you know, you can't train this, you know. Anyway, lots of stories there. But as you say, he became very, very conditioned and got off the floor to win that fight. And I'm proud of that.
Do you think without your coaching, if it had been another person, he would have not got up?
Yeah. That's a really weird thing to say because I'm very, If the interventions and the specific you cannot do and you can do and you shouldn't be and you should be, those conversations which were enacted, you know, they did things off the back of them. That they should and that I was telling them to do. If they hadn't done that, he'd have never. I don't think he'd have made it to the third and fourth round. Personally, I could probably argue that from a scientific perspective as well, but that'd be a bit dull.
And just changing the tune a little bit. So, like, we're so sciencey, so knowledgeable. You're not what we typically expect someone to look like with your tattoos. Have we got a story about where your tattoos came from? Because they look cool, but it's not what you traditionally expect.
No, I don't. There's no rhyme or reason. It's quite often a question people ask about tattoos. What does this one mean? Fuck all. Nothing.
They just look cool.
No, I mean, so the black arm was an accident. How can you have a 7-hour tattoo accident? You ask. I'd got a really shitty 90s tribal thing on my arm. I got that covered over, and there was one on my chest. Got that covered over, but the cover up was shit, so we got that cover over done, and then. There was some geometric shapes on this arm that a guy I was getting tattooed by was doing kind of freehand from his own, creativity. God bless him, Richard. He came off a motorbike, broke his hands to fuck, his collarbones, but hit his head as well. Couldn't tattoo anymore. I'm giggling. This is terrible to giggle at, but he also couldn't remember having ever started the tattoo. Yeah. So he wasn't able to say where he's going with it. So whenever I went to somebody else going, could you finish this? They're going, I don't know what the fuck he was doing. So in the end, I got so frustrated, we just blacked that over. Yeah. So I ended up with a black forearm, and that looks a bit weird. Let's just
do the rest of it.
Clearly, no rhyme nor reason to any of it. Yeah. It's just sort of happenstance and mistakes. And I got this kind of white skull hand poked in and stuff.
Nice.
I like it all, but most of them are just silly. I've got a shark here. That was my second boy, girl and 3 boys. The middle boy, Ruben. He couldn't say shark. He would say very clearly shite. And it made me laugh so much that I got a tattoo of a shark.
I love it.
So I could show him the tattoo and say, what's that, son? He'd say, it's a shite, daddy. So that's the intellectual fucking merit of my tattoos. Are mostly there just because I liked it. And my granddad was the longest serving miner in Scotland. It's a little mining lantern for him. And
there's meaning behind a good few of them.
Some of them. I mean, skate or die is what it says on the tin. You know, the skull in the hand, I just liked it. You know, and some of them just made me laugh. There's on my legs, I've got a thing saying fresh out of fucks, and and I've got broken dreams tattooed on that bad knee and stuff.
Can we just do like combat fuel?
Yeah,
the eyebrows.
Clearly, quite cool. Clearly, I can be talked into tattoos very easily, so it wouldn't be a fucking...
You should definitely let me try and do it as well. Have you tattooed yourself?
No. I had a notion that I might get the kids to draw pictures and have those pictures tattooed on at one point. I might still do that, but I've not tattooed them, so I'd like to at some point, but I'd probably do a very shit job. Mind you, it's not exactly going to change the landscape of tattoos, is it, if I get a shit one, because they're all shit. So.
Oh, I love it. So we've also turned around. Some of the challenges you've done have been mad, but they don't always go to plan, do they?
No.
We remember you were going to run an ultra across 4 different things, so desert, all of this.
Yeah.
When you got to the jungle, though, this you done Antarctic?
Arctic.
Sorry.
So this is Beyond the Ultimate. Really good friend of mine, Chris King. He runs a group of he runs a company called Beyond the Ultimate, and there are 4 global races. I think he's actually got 6, maybe 7 races in the roster. But the 4 main ones are the Ice Ultra, then the jungle, then the desert. I'm getting the order wrong, but and the mountains. The mountains are in Kazakhstan, the desert's in Namibia, jungle's in Peru, and the Ice Ultra's in the Arctic. So I did the Ice Ultra. That was a hard challenge. One of the toughest years they've had. There was a horrible storm and people lost fingers and all kinds of mental things happened. But I got through that really quite well, and it was a challenge, but I loved it.
I'm feeling good and feeling strong going into the next one.
Sorry to contextualize. I had planned to be the first guy to do all 4 within a year. Yeah. And that was going to be a big thing, all these different environments within 1 year, which nobody had ever done before. It's been done since, and the guy that did it way faster than I was ever going to do it, so well done to him. Some young, sexy prig. So so that's been done since. But the second one for me was the jungle. And I got very, very ill. Turned out I died. I didn't know that until a good bit afterwards. Apparently twice. Yeah. But that was brutal. I got so this is not even a did not finish. It's not a DNF. It was a DNS. I didn't even start that race. I got to Peru. I'm trying to remember the stats, but you fly in. It's like 4,200 meters up into Cusco. So fly into Lima, then fly to Cusco. So you're at altitude in this beautiful city. went for a pint in the highest pub in the world, I think they called it. Good Irish pub, so I got some nice fucking Guinness in there. Enjoyed myself. Came back out, walked across the main plaza. Just felt a bit dizzy, but that's fine. You'd expect it. I'm at altitude all of a sudden. Went back to the hotel, felt a bit grumbly on my chest. Again, expected. You take a little bit of oxygen. I was there 5 days in advance to allow myself to acclimatise. But it just got worse and worse, and I ended up with a really grumbly chest, coughing a lot, and this kind of wheezy. There was definitely fluid on my chest. So the global medics, the med team associated with Beyond the Ultimate, came and had a listen. They said, "Look, this sounds bad. We're going to give you another sort of 12 hours or so. Come see you in the morning." Came and saw me in the morning, and the doctor, she said, "You're in a bad state. We're going to take you to the specialist clinic." That was an interesting experience because they took me to the specialist clinic, but there was a language barrier, and I don't think they thought. I don't think they knew she was a doctor. I think they thought she was my missus. So we're in there together, and she's trying to say, "He's not well. He's very unwell," and they thought that she was just, a kind of a henpecking me a little bit and all the rest of it. And she went, "Nah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine." But she insisted that they do an X-ray. They did the X-ray. It's not the NHS. He came back 10 minutes later with the results. He said, "This man is very unwell.
Yeah,
you can't even take him away." And he showed me, and one of my lungs was completely full of fluid. So they immediately admitted me. I was there for 10 days, and I lived most of those days going in and out of a hyperbaric chamber because my lungs were fucked. So what had started off as HAPE, high altitude pulmonary edema, very, very quickly progressed to pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia, and then it became a very, very bad case of bacterial pneumonia. So they were trying to fix me. They couldn't move me because the movement would have killed me, so they had to keep me in a specialist unit. The hyperbaric chamber I would not recommend to my worst enemy. I hated it. And then I was being fed all kinds of drugs to try and keep me alive, and it was only afterwards when I read the notes that apparently I'd gone out twice and they'd had to resuscitate me, and it was bad, really, really bad. I came back to the UK eventually, and as soon as I got back here, I got ill again. I obviously hadn't fully recovered, and I was in hospital in Kirkcaldy for another week. Touch and go. Quite brutal and quite mad because, actually from where I was, you're supposed to go higher to start the race. Yeah. And it's not 4,200 meters isn't crazy high. No. This is not, this, my neighbor who's from Nepal had gone back to visit family, and she was like, "Well, I was at 4,500 and I was fine, you poof."
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely amazing.
So fuck you.
But it's, from being like one of the fittest people going, you've just done your ice ultra to go in there, and that's how quickly things can just.
And for the jungle, I was even fitter. I'd gotten in really, really good condition.
Yeah. I remember your messages just being like, you're absolutely buzzing for
I was
it.
Jumping on the scale. I don't think I've been fitter in my life. Yeah. Maybe a couple of times close to it, but no, I've been really prepped. I mentioned Alex Viad earlier on. Alex had, he'd prepped me for it. I'd offset all responsibility. I will do everything I'm told and get right for it. Because the jungle scared me. Because of the heat. We've it 22 degrees today, and I've been crying every time we've walked outside of this building. So and the humidity. And that was the one that was always going to be the challenge. Of all four of them, I wanted to do the ice and I wanted to do the mountain. The jungle and the desert really didn't appeal, but that was the challenge. But it's we still don't know. Too many things have happened since to allow me the opportunity to go back. Whether or not I just don't operate at altitude, or whether that was a one-off thing. The medical teams are pretty convinced it was just it happens now and again, and it was just bad luck. And I'm hoping it will, because I don't want to shut those particular doors, but it's still a kind of a worry.
Yeah. Are you going to try and reattempt at some point?
That race probably, yeah. I'm very bad with unfinished business. It feels like I don't like to be beaten, and it sits heavy for me if I haven't completed something. Hence, Project Vertical we mentioned right at the top of the conversation. Haven't gone back to try that again, so I think I will go back. But now there's two things happen now. Is that I want to go back because I want to kick its teeth out what it did to me. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm more scared, because and I was concerned about that race in the first place. But it's like
what the kids to think about. Died. Yeah, absolutely. So, and is there any other events, challenges you've done that are harder than the two we've discussed?
No, I think I mean, I can't speak to how hard the jungle is because I didn't get to actually do it. So that was just a hard personal challenge in that sense. Project Vertical is the hardest thing I've ever done for many reasons. We've just been to the Arctic to do something called the Arctic Spine, which is like maybe 2-3 times as long as the one that I did before. That's 300 and... I'm terrible with stats, but it's 500 and something kilometers, if not longer. And that actually failed just recently. We went out there and didn't complete that, but that was just circumstance. I feel like I could do that. It just wasn't there for me in the day, so I don't feel like that one's sitting so heavy for me. Just the other ones. But the question was, anything harder? And I think, probably Project Vertical's the hardest. But then there's personal challenges. There's things come along that I look at. I'd rather do Project Vertical every day than face such and such again. But so physically, when you break down Project Vertical, and I tried to do this as objectively as I could afterwards, it's one of the toughest endurance challenges ever conceived. Not the idea of a project of a vertical marathon in of itself, but doing it on that particular mountain. And we talked earlier about even the conditions in Scotland. Off camera, Fraser and I were talking earlier on, all three of us, in fact. Whilst doing that challenge, I rescued 11 people, and that was over a 5-day period. And that's just people climbing up and down, kind of in a pedestrian manner. They're just going up to see the top, whereas I'm marching through this thing, and so each day's like
laps for days.
There's risk, and it compounds because it's a numbers game, isn't it? How many times can you climb a mountain before it gets you? You know. I nearly came a crop of 2 or 3 times up there where I think it was just pure luck that I didn't die. And that's just Ben Nevis. But any mountain in Scotland is not just a mountain.
It's absolutely not.
It's a potential death trap.
It is. I mean, let's just to contextualize that as well. Like Mount Everest compared to doing your vertical marathon makes Everest look small.
Well, statistically, yes. In the sense that the distance and the total gain is like 5 times as much. There's obviously very different challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. If we're talking just the distance that you climbed.
It's much fun.
5 Everests is...
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
It's a long way to be going up.
But so again, very, very different challenges. Yeah. But we do something in running, something called the normalized gradient. I don't know if you heard of that before. So if you look at the gradient of something and consider, okay, if we took that and flattened that out, how long would it be and what would the effort be like? So if we flattened out what I did on Nevis, it'd be the equivalent of 1,000+ miles of just constant movement, which, I mean, that's just stupid anyway, isn't it? Yeah. But actually, if you then take that and smash it up into these kind of pockets of constant, it's actually the descents, as everybody knows that's done any mountain training or running or fell running or anything, coming down's where the damage happens and it's where the accidents happen and all the rest of it. And so 32 descents of Ben Nevis almost KO'd me. Well, it nearly did. Talk about that if you want as well. If I could ascend it and somehow parachute back to the bottom, I think I could do 60, 70. I just felt strong as hell. Wow. And I got stronger because I was more conditioned. Specific conditioning over 15 days, you're just going to get stronger and stronger.
And please tell us, what were the incidences that were close to death for you?
Well, the key, so I was talking earlier on about the rescues that we did. There's a couple of girls, myself and Mac, really good friend of mine, runs Nomad Mountaineering. He came up to support me on quite a few summits, and on one of the ones that he was with me, we heard a scream in the distance. And this had been a bluebird day, really beautiful day where the forecast was for nothing but sunshine. But it's Scotland. The mountains don't give a fuck about your forecast. So we were up there and we had all our kit with us, but others didn't. They picked a beautiful day and they were going up. But we heard this scream. The rain had come in. What's the word I'm looking for? Visibility. Thank you. Was maybe about 1 meter by this point. And earlier on, we could see to Schiehallion. Now we can't see our own feet properly. So these girls had come off the summit, and from what we can make out, they just erred off by a degree or something off the path. And the path's just broken stone, and you know it's only man-made from many people walking on it, but it's the top of a mountain. So they'd ended up nearly falling off the south side, and they were screaming and shouting. We came and rescued them. They would have perished for sure. But to answer your question, that's a really easy mistake to make. And I'm up down there 2, sometimes 3 times in a row, clearly doing this thing in the pitch black, just with my head torch on. But when the weather comes in, you know yourself, you've got a head torch of any kind, and the weather's in, it actually makes it worse because all you see is the rain. So you're kind of doing this turn off, turn on thing. Yeah. I was trying to find the summit. I think we're 20-something summits in on my own on this particular one in the dark. And I just couldn't find... of all people, I know the top of Nevis better than anybody. I can't not. Yeah. I've ascended the thing now something like fucking 100 times easily. And I'm looking at this thing and I can't see... There's the trig point itself, which is obviously where I'll summit. There's also something they renamed the COVID cave, which is a little hut that's there. So if I can factor in, I could see that, which means the trig point should be around about here. Yeah. And that's what I was navving off. I don't know where I am, so I can't find it, you know. So, okay, I'll find it. But I've obviously missed it. And I've gone back, oh, fuck, I need to come back again. Now where is it? I can't even see it. And so this went on for about an hour. And I didn't know where I was. And I've stopped at one point and done that kind of, for fuck's sake, little moment. Yeah. And in doing so, I knocked my own head torch off and it landed at my feet. So I bent down to pick the head torch up. And as I've picked it up, it's flipped. And I've realised that half my feet are hanging off a sheer drop. So it was pure luck that my head torch came off. And pure luck that when I've picked it off, it's flipped enough to give me, because again, the visibility was maybe a foot. And I'm dangling. If I'd tipped my feet forward, it was just gone. Because there are... You know, and I was fucking miles from the trig point as well. Like, I was like, why the fuck am I here?
How long did it take you to get back to the trig point?
I mean, I laid down and kind of crawled backwards for about, scratches on my back, some sheer rock, and my heart rate's through the roof. So that was one that was really very close, and there's two or three other incidents where it's just pure. A good friend of mine came up, and I was telling him this story after it happened, and I'm still up there. He says, how on earth can you get lost up here after having done it like 20-something times? I was like, mate, how many times do you get up in the middle of the night to go for a piss in your dark bedroom and you crack yourself off your own dressing table? Yeah. You know, you don't know your own bedroom. Yeah. I'm on the top of a mountain. For the 3rd time that day, absolutely knackered, pitch black, and it's a dangerous landscape, and you think that I'm a fucking moron for not being able to find a trig point. The moronic thing is being here. Yeah. So there was a few kind of instances of that. Beyond that, it was just like... you know, I know the mountain so well, but because it's in the dark and then the conditions change, it's just getting lost. And getting lost can be lethal.
When you dropped your head torch and you were to decide, what went through your mind?
Just fuck. Just a pure jam. I mean, on the way back down, I found a trig point and got off the mountain as quick as I could. And I got lost through it. That was just a horrendous, that was the longest summit of all of them. I think it took me, you know, from the top of the switchbacks is then where you kind of, you head over to the very top. There's just ways of breaking it down in my head. And that part took 3 hours to get to the top, and maybe another 2.5 to get back down again. And that should be an hour all in, the pace I was moving at. So, but just not panic or anything, just, you know, I'm just lucky, just fuck. And then how lucky am I? And then so coming down, there was a lot of introspection and a lot of counting blessings went on.
Absolutely.
But that was most of the time was blessing counting.
Yeah, so. I bet. Well, you had some pretty mad stuff. Is there anything else in the pipeline?
There's a few things that I've been toying with and been relatively public about them. I don't want anybody to take it away from me, but I think I've got the fastest known time across Iceland in the bag. I say in the bag, that's a ridiculous thing to say. I've not even tried it yet, but I think I can do it. It's currently, I believe, 18 days longitudinally. I think I can do that, and it's a challenge that I'd be interested in. So the fastest known time across Iceland would be very interesting to me.
What time of year will you do it though?
In the summer. Yeah, anything else would be madness.
This is you though, so we had to ask the question. I had to ask.
I do it completely self-supported and go out there early and lay some caches down and all the rest of it and do it like that. And I think I could do it. I'm interested in that. I've got do you know the Bob Graham and the Charlie Ramsey, these rounds? So the Charlie Ramsey's the one in Scotland, which is kind of around the mountains that I love, specifically in Loch Aber and a couple of the Moors and things up there. Where it's a 20, for anybody who doesn't know, it's a round of, I believe there's actually something like 32 mountains in total to summit. Obviously not coming down, you're crossing the peaks on some of them. But the challenge is to try and do that within 24 hours. Something that I've done before is to lift I'm very proud of this, I've lifted the Dinny Stones.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
We'll talk about that all day long if you want. I'm very proud of that. It's a very Scottish thing as well. So lifting the Dinny Stones now, with permission, if they could bring the Dinny Stones to the beginning of the Charlie Ramsey round, I think it would be cool as fuck to lift the Dinnies and then run that, the very Scottish thing. I think for me, this would be the kind of thing I'd like to, I don't want pats on the back or fame or any of that bullshit, but it would be quite nice to think in 20 years' time, somebody in a pub goes, there's a mad cunt called Jonny Pain who lifted the Dinnies and did the Charlie on the same day, that'd be cool, just a little bit of pub lore.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do that because that would be very, going back to the methodology and the philosophy I've got of all these things, it would be a show of real strength and then a show of real endurance back to back, but on a grand scale in an extraordinary setting. I'd love to do that. So and there's kind of very personal things, and I think I'd like to go back to, if you'd asked me 3 weeks even ago, I think I'd have said no, but I'd like to go back and attack the spine, maybe with a different mindset and a different setup. I think I could complete that. And over and above that, I've got ideas, very, very cool ideas to me, which I'll tell you about off camera because somebody will steal this.
Yeah.
World's first polar exploration, something that's never been done before that I've conceived of, that I think people will be very interested in, and I'd love to do. But that'd be a year or so out of my life. Let's see if that comes off. I need some money though.
We will support you as best we can.
Yeah.
And you've got some brilliant companies that do support you. Through are big advocates of Mr. Jonny Pain, aren't they?
They've been brilliant to me.
They're phenomenal. Yeah. Brilliant.
Incredible.
Yeah. Massive shout out to Staz, Louis and the team.
Yeah, Staz and Louis have built something really wonderful there. And from the very start, 2018, I got involved with them and helped them. I was honoured to be able to help them through the Scottish leg of Frankie Tinsley's Talisman project, which was an extraordinary project in of itself. It's mind-blowing that he did that. And we've had a very close relationship ever since then. So they look after me very, very well. Elliot Brown as well, who you know very well, have looked after me. Contact Coffee have looked after me, and you guys have looked after me. And I'm very, very fortunate to be involved with some brands which you can pick all those out and ask why. And it's the love that they give. It's not the... I mean, the products are fucking amazing. Otherwise, it'd be hard to go out and say, yeah, I use this, and then go away and use something completely different. So the products are generally amazing with all those brands, but the every one of them has invited me in and looked after me as an individual, and I've never had a, hey, why aren't you promoting the brand in this way? It's always, how are you, Jonny? Which is massive to me.
Yeah, always. And I think every company you mentioned there, I'm friends with them, some more than others. But everybody has that same mindset of it's the people. People come first, We're not, again, it's great to promote the brand and do what we can, but how are you as a person? What can we do to support you? Because, it's nice to be able to support good people without expectation or any, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And it's just, it makes everything a better place, doesn't it?
I'm very much an advocate of, you and I talked about it before. You were talking actually, I think, with Tom before you left earlier on, Tom Collins, and we were talking about the reason you might do something for somebody, and there's different ways of doing that. There's this kind of common barter where somebody might do something to get something back, and that's very normal, very very base. But the brands and you guys and yourself especially, Bez, have been really good at embodying what I believe is the right way to work. Is to if you're going to do something, I always say this, don't I? Lead with love. Yeah. Do it from the place of giving. And if you're going to give somebody something, give something of yourself, whether it's advice, whether it's time, whether it's products, whether it's opportunity, it shouldn't necessarily be to, and what I want back is. But I think if you can sit in that more sort of divine economy approach and say, listen, I'll give and that is what the universe will reciprocate.
This is what we can do to
hard
support
to stick
you,
to that.
and something will come back at some point. Because
people don't buy into that enough, and they don't want to hijack your podcast and make it into a kind of a spiritual journey for anybody. But these are lessons I've learned over time, and I feel now, I've had it just recently. I've had it with my previous business, that the blame for things going wrong can be, well, he did this, she did that, they did that, and all the rest of it. But it usually comes down, if you dig a little deeper, to alignment with self and with what it is that you're trying to project. And I think when I align, when I sit in that properly, and when I'm trying to be about giving as much as I can, I talk about my job as being, I'm very blessed to have the job that I've got, because all I'm doing is I get the opportunity to facilitate joy for others. So if you have a challenge, might be an ultramarathon, might be a fight, might be whatever, might be military aspirations and getting you fit for that particular role. If I have an opportunity to offer advice, offer guidance, and that helps you get to that goal, then I have facilitated joy, in which case I'm in a very blessed position. If I start looking at that as, how much money can I get for that thing? How much can I do? What's my promotional capabilities? How famous I'm going to get off the back of it? What's my Instagram followers? Then I've lost sight of what I'm there for at all. Every time I start focusing on those things, shit goes wrong.
Yeah.
And every time I go, do you know what? Get back to the center, get back to the base, get back to that kind of more, spiritual stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about something that's it should be intrinsic in all of us.
Yeah.
When I focus back in on that, and you've embodied that really beautifully recently, and thank you for that. The welcome back to Combat Fuel after I'd been kind of drifting about a little bit has been amazing. When you see that in practice and do it yourself, everything falls into alignment. If you don't believe that, try harder.
Yeah, are we allowed to touch on that quickly on what happened?
I'll shy. It's a little bit like the military. I shy away from it because I think people don't want to hear you getting old. No. I'm not particularly woolly about it, but I just have
So at one point, for those watching, so you were with us for a little while before, and then another supplement brand came along and were able to offer you a good amount of money. And it was, you carry like, look, they've done this and offered me this. And I was like, you'd be an idiot not to take it. Yeah. We're not a huge brand, without naming them, because don't go and buy that stuff. But grenades are something you throw. Just saying, protein bars and shit. But yeah, you got 4 kids.
Yeah.
A previous business hadn't worked out how you wanted it to do. Like, and I always think like, your priority has to be your family. It can't be your mate Bez who's making some supplements. So you got to put food on the table and put a roof over your family's head. And you did that. And it was a year or so contract, and it's came up for renewal. And I remember noticing it. And Leah had pinged me. She's like, it's got Jonathan Pain that's ordered in Scotland. And like, we sell a lot to Scotland, but Jonathan Pain is like, it's one of them names, like, they stick out. Not many people are called Jonathan Pain. And I was like, do not send his order. And she was like, I remember being like, oh God, do we not like him? I was like, I was at an event and I was like, no, it's that. I was like, right, we've got to write him a letter. I was like, just to reassure him, he knows that there's a space at our table always. And I told him the second he said like,
I cried when I got that letter.
It was,
prick.
Yeah, good. And I think he literally just said, awesome. That you went and spent your own hard-earned money on our products, and that to me, like when he said that, I was like, oh my God, like that's, like I always thought in a bit of me, like I'm sure one day JP will want to come back once he's got his business sorted, and I'm pretty sure I said to him, I was like, I just need you to write on there, just simply, there's always a seat at our table for Jonny Pain. Yeah, mate.
It really hit. It was the right time to get the letter, and it was the right time to hear it, and it was a beautiful thing. Not to make this a love-in, but it was a beautiful thing. There's something interesting in it as well. Going back to that kind of common barter versus this divine economy that I'm referring to, which is a concept that bore everybody. So I'll not go into it, but you're right. We were working together, and you guys were looking after me from a supplement perspective, and we were scratching each other's backs, and then this other company came in and said, listen, we'll pay you this, and it was fucking, it was enough to make you go, oh, all right then. But looking back on it, it was the wrong choice. Now again, I was in a business predicament. The money had dropped back for me. I needed to make money. But it removed me from that alignment for a year, and God bless those people that, they're on their own journey, but I didn't feel this is the softest thing I'm ever about to say. I didn't feel seen there. They were trying to ask me to do very scripted things, which told me they don't know me at all. They don't know who I am. And it's very uncomfortable. I tried to fulfill it. I wasn't very good at fulfilling it. That particular relationship broke down, or the contract wasn't renewed. And I feel like, no wonder, I wasn't aligned. It wasted it. And I wish I hadn't done it, because it felt the whole time uncomfortable and it was compromising to me.
Yeah.
And I made that mistake, and then you guys have sent a letter saying you're always welcome here, which is beautiful to be welcomed back. And I've made that mistake since. I've gone on. I had an opportunity to work with a company recently that I had been working with. Didn't particularly like the ethos, didn't particularly like the way it was run, but needed to put a bit of money back in after having had some business issues and whatnot. 8-9 months down the road, that relationship's broken down. I've had to walk away, and I kind of look back and think, do you know what? What you did, mate, this is me talking to me, was the wrong thing again. You've seen the numbers, thought, well, that'll fulfill a need that you have. Yeah. But that's removed me from myself, removed me the opportunity to be true to myself, which I could have, and I'm back at square one. And now that I'm aligned again, I'm back here with you guys. I come down the journey down here, speaking to people on the phone about it and saying, look, this is the first time in a long time I've been excited to come and see people from a work perspective, because I'm coming to see people. I met Fraser today, immediately warm guy, this is where I need to be. Whereas, beforehand I wasn't feeling that. So it's about alignment. But when I look at it, it's because I was making the wrong choices. I was making choices based on fear, based on panic, and based on necessity. And you can look at it and go, well, you need to pay the bills. And it's like, yeah, but do you need to pay them this way? Probably the answer is probably no.
And I completely get it. I've done it as well. Like, I've, contrary to people that know me personally, been like, I've never earned in a long time so little money. And I mean, Combat Fuel's doing great. It's doing really well. But I'm like the least I've ever earned. And I'm sometimes like, shit, maybe I should be a bit careful with what I'm doing. But I'm like, I don't care. I'm happy. I've got enough to have a roof over my head, feed, enjoy some stuff. I've got no kids. I've got wholly jogging bottoms on. So if there's any clothing companies out there, no, I'm joking. But but I'm so happy. I'm surrounded with people they give me fulfillment. Having you back here, having Fraser. I don't think we've said this on the podcast before.
All right.
This is actually going to be a nice thing as well. He thinks I'm going to take the mic, and he doesn't know what I'm going to say.
Mate, every episode you've said something bad about me.
It's always been bad. Fraser messaged me. He's had his own issues. I had a gym in Andover, tiny, 600 square foot, I think it was. He sent me a text being like, I'm a veteran, I'm like, poor me. And I was down at a meeting somewhere else, and I was like, I gotta go. These guys were like, we're in a meeting. I was like, don't matter, veteran, see you later. I went to my gym in Andover, met him, this little bald dwarf, and I was like,
I still had hair
there. Didn't have hair. And I was just like, right, this is what we do. This is what we're about. This is a community we have. I was like, please don't go, come back, meet us, see us. He'd had some personal stuff going on. And here we are now. This was 2019, wasn't it? We're 2020, just pre-COVID and post-COVID. And it's 6 and a bit years down the line. And he's now our podcast producer. The weekend, we've just slept in my car, filming an event, chat shit. You snore at night, by the way.
Yeah, so do you.
I don't snore. But that's, people coming together and doing stuff and being surrounded by good people. And it's phenomenal. You and Tom are going to go and chat away and do some stuff. You should always, if you can help, you should help. There's nothing wrong with saying no to people. Like someone, sorry, no, I can't do that.
Yeah. You got to look after yourself, but it should be for the right reasons,
But yeah, absolutely. And it's,
self-protection is a big, couple of words, and you need to make sure you protect your own boundaries and stuff, which is something I've not been very good at doing in the past either, but I still think it needs to come from,
absolutely.
What you give out, you'll get back. There's so many trite sayings, so many songs written about and all the rest of it, but what's that phrase? 22 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. It's got to be right, isn't it? And it's proven to me over and over again, and the embarrassing part is having to learn a lesson again, but I think that's just an infinite cycle of kind of coming out. We talked about it from a business perspective earlier on. Your business will get to a threshold point, and then you'll burst through that threshold, and then you're smaller in a bigger pond, and you're like, God, and it's panic again, because that white belt mentality is like, now I'm the white belt again, but that's a fucking brilliant place to be.
Yeah.
And so this applies the same with this kind of stuff. It's like I'm making mistakes, learning lessons, making mistakes and learning lessons, but as long as each lesson compounds, And as long as I'm drawn back, which I am, and you've been part of that guidance, mate, is to bring me back to that kind of lead with love and go with what your heart is. Then we're all good, aren't we? Yeah.
I'm going to be properly selfish now and talk about Combat Fuel. I mean,
do, mate. Yeah.
It's been your podcast, but we're filming it, so we've got to put some bits in.
It's shit, but I'm glad you pay me.
So if you could just tell everyone like that you use everything religiously, you never deviate from anything, like, you know, and that's we don't do it all, do we? You know, product, do what you want with it. You know, we have no pressure to. You've got to do this many posts, this many stories a week. If you don't do it, you're off the team.
And there's the other part of it is the honesty in it. So the two things I said about branding earlier on was that I'm not going to. I apart from the fact that I want to actually use products that work, but we've talked about the things that I've been doing. They need to work, you know, especially when we're talking about actual kit and stuff, you know. Yeah. So what's been really, really cool about Combat Fuel for me is that exactly as you've just said, it's like, okay, Jonny, here's what we can offer you. Use what you would use. Let us know what you need, and then let us know how you feel. You know, and every other brand I've worked with, including the ones I was just talking about, have said, these are the products we want you to talk about. This is what we want you to say about them. This is the use, what's the phrase you guys go, the use case for it, you know, right to the fact that, you know, one of the big arguments was on Nevis. I was supposed to be saying that such and such a product was fueling my and I was like, protein shakes are not fueling this fucking you know, if anything, it's actually just, you know, distracting me from eating properly. So I'm not going to fucking say that, which is, it proves the point, doesn't it? Whereas you guys have just said, look, have a look at the product list. Here's what it is. And you and I had a very long conversation the first time we met about your involvement in that process and how much you know and how passionate you are about what goes into it and what people can get from it, which in of itself, it's actually relatively unique. I don't know how unique you know that is, but it fucking is. And so I think we've actually picked out some of the stuff that I genuinely use.
Yeah, and one of the key bits is clarity. You know, it is a lion's mane mushroom product and rhodiola. Something that you were like, I was like, just trust me on this. You know, not wanting to push anything on you to try it. It's like, honestly, give it a go and give us.
I didn't want to be.
and you didn't. You didn't.
I think it was Leah put a message on our kind of ambassadors group and stuff saying, give this a go, folks. And I know you'd said about it as well. For me, the products I'm always going to push hardest against are the ones that suggest optimization, which in of itself to me is just a bollocks nonsense. It's another you know, buzzword.
Marketing
bollocks, you know, because you're not optimizing anything. Actually, sometimes the idea of optimizing then de-optimizes, if that's even a word. You know, you've got this kind of all nonsense about pushing back on coffee. Oh, well, why don't you take this product now? No, I like my coffee, so that's part of my routine. Why don't you fuck off? You know? So the clarity one for me was like, well, what are we saying it does? Are we saying that it's going to switch you on a little bit more? Isn't that going to be down to, this is the way my mind's working, isn't that going to be down to kind of recovery and all the rest of it? And now, you know, as we talked about earlier on, I'm a performance nutritionist and I understand nutrition. I understand but I'm very much a foundational, get the bones of the thing right first, you know, and these cherries on top almost don't exist for anybody anyway. But long story short, with a little bit of nudging, you know, I've tried that clarity and it fucking blew my mind. I was like, this shit is working. I was kind of buzzing off. And I said to you earlier on, day one taking it, I also had my coffee in the morning. And I'm like, is it just, if I just had a good coffee, right? I just did a good place today. So I did it the next day, and this is very unusual for me. I got up and I didn't have my coffee. I thought, I'll try that. I'll get into work, see what I've got going on. And I've said a couple of times it's mind-blowing and I was buzzing, but I wasn't actually. I just felt clear. Rhodiola is an old, Russians used to take it fucking years and years and years back. And it was one of those kind of things that was looked at as, oh yeah, bollocks. And again, that's the 22 million Elvis fans, can't be wrong, but these guys were taking it as part of their, you know, stack, this kind of herbal stack and stuff. And there's all these purported things come from it. But as an adaptogen, you're looking at it going, well, how much can you clearly say it's doing? And that's one I've always believed in, funny enough, Rodeo. So you're in there, like, all right, okay, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Took it. Yeah. Feel good. And it isn't a sales pitch either. Genuinely feel good. It's very rare for me to go, this is now something I will take.
I'm pretty sure when we done it and we'd said to all of the athletes, which was, we have to tell you when to take a product because, there's no point in saying, oh, here's a powder, try it. It's a pre-workout, have it at 8 o'clock at night. But so we said, upon waking, as soon as you can, have your 3 capsules and just tell us how you feel.
Yeah.
And that's the only information we gave anyone. We explained like the standardization and why the ingredients are so good in there because loads of brands do Lion's Mane. Of course they do.
Yeah.
Not one brand still to this date have I seen has put the standardization on their tub. Your polysaccharide and beta glucan content's through the roof. Most brands it would be, when we started looking and like we had distributors of raw ingredients being, oh, we got this. What's your standard? Oh, we don't have a standardization. It's just Lion's Mane. 100% fruit and body. I'm like, yeah, that's like saying, is your sugar 100% sugar? Like, yeah, cool. Cheers, mate.
How much is
what's the thing that does the thing? And the thing ours is 50% and 25% saroglyceride to beta glucan content. Most brands it'd be non-traceable. It's wild. And the easiest way I can describe it is tea. When we're having a nice brew, a good quality brew, if you rip your tea bag in half, and if it's all black and very fine, that's really good. That's just tea leaves. If you start opening it and it's a bit thick, there's bits of brown in there, there's bits of stalk, but stalk doesn't taste of anything. So you've not got a pure good tea that's doing the thing to make a nice brew. That is.
Yeah.
And it's, and that's why it works so well. And obviously the rhodiola is what gives you the feel good. And it's, I think it's an absolutely phenomenal product. Really, really proud of it.
I genuinely do, mate. Genuinely do. And it's saying every day now.
Yeah.
Apart from this morning, because I forgot to bring any.
Oh, there you go.
I fell down, so I'll pocket a few to take tomorrow morning before we come back in here. But that's genuinely a good product, mate. Well done.
Good. Thank you very much. Where can people find you?
In the pub.
Somewhere in Scotland.
Yeah. I'll be the one that's drunk on the Guinness. Instagram's the easiest place at Jonathan Pain. All right, you just search up Jonny Pain. You'll probably find me that way. I have just literally just built a website, which I'm 80% pleased with. Feedback's been good, as in it works. Yeah. That's all.
And again, like if you're still watching now and you need to find it and you don't want to Google it, like scroll down in the is there a comment or description? In the description, and there'll be a link in there.
Thank you.
All of it. Yeah, always. Yeah,
just Painless Performance. That's the brand I've always gone under for years and years. That's me, is Painless Performance. Yeah. You better find it that way. .co.uk. But if you guys are putting up, it's brilliant. So at Jonathan Pain or that website.
Brilliant. Awesome stuff.
Come and find me in the hills somewhere.
Piece of advice for your younger self.
I've actually given it already, haven't I? Is just be true to yourself, and something I've talked about many years is fear and the power of fear and the gold that's in it. If it scares you, lean into it. Jeff Thompson mentioned earlier, has a really good phrase: marinate in the fear and lean into the sharp edges. It's very normal. Like normal as in it's probably a natural reaction to be afraid of something, then step back. Now, obviously, don't be afraid of a moving train and step forward or anything.
Yeah.
But most things that frighten you are probably opportunities. I think it took me a long time to figure that out. And it was good because that's part of the journey. But having known that earlier would have been a good thing, just to really appreciate what that means when you get that prickly feeling that, oh God, it's probably an opportunity. So lean into that. But I think the advice I'm giving to my kids now, it's never going to be make sure you get a good corporate job and pay your taxes and this thing. That's not it. It's always be true to yourself, lead with love, and do the best.
You've only got one life. There ain't no repeats or restarts of it.
That's it. That's it. And as long as you are doing that, leading with love, then the rest should work its way out, because that should come back. I do believe the universe is a reciprocal place. If you put it out there, it will come back to you. It's hard to believe that, but the proof is in the pudding.
Absolutely. Jonny, thank you very much for coming down. Again, thank you for your service. You signed on the dotted line and did it. Thank you for being a part of our family.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.